Students, in this session, let us discuss about the gear train. So in this session, we discuss about the gear trains. What is the definition of the gear train and what are the various types of gear train? So these are the topics to be discussed in this session. First, let us consider what's a gear train. When a power is to be transmitted from one shaft to another shaft, so there is a requirement of some transmission elements like gear. So a gear is mounted on a shaft and it also messes with a gear on the another shaft. So the transmission occurs from one gear to another gear mounted on the two different shafts. Like a way, the power is transmitted from one shaft to another shaft. So such a combination of gears used to transmit motion from one shaft to another shaft is called gear train or simply train of two through wheels. Okay, it's a definition of the gear train. Now there are basically four types of gear trains. One is a simple gear train, second compound gear train, third reverted gear train, fourth epicyclic gear train. Let us discuss one by one. First, simple gear train. Just look at the diagram. A shaft carries a gear wheel 1 and another shaft carries a gear wheel 2. Here the gear wheel 1 is assumed to be given a power, so it's act as a driver. So here the driving gear 1 drives a gear wheel 2, so the gear wheel 2 acts as a driven wheel or follower. Here the shaft, each shaft carries a only one gear wheel, so the simple gear train is defined as it's a system of gears in which each shaft carries a only one wheel is called a simple gear train. Here, when a driver rotates in the clockwise direction, the follower gear rotates in the just opposite to the direction, that is in the anti-clockwise direction. Here, next, the speed ratio. Here, the speed ratio is the ratio of the speed of the driving gear divided by speed of the driven gear. It's equal to number of teeth on driven gear to number of teeth on driven gear, driver gear. Here, the speed and the number of teeth are inversely proportional. Here, we can rewrite the speed ratio equal to N1 by N2. So N1 is the speed of the driving gear and N2 is the speed of the follower gear. In terms of number of teeth, it is equal to T2 by T1. Again, the train value is the reciprocal of the speed ratio, that is N2 by N1. So for the simple gear train, the speed ratio is speed of the driving gear divided by speed of the driven gear and equal to number of teeth on driven gear and number of to the ratio to the number of teeth on driver gear. Here, look at the diagram B and C. If there is a circumstance occurs, there is a large gap or large distance between the driver gear and the follower gear. So there are two ways to solve this problem. One, we can accommodate a larger gear in between the two gears to bridge the gap between the 1 and 3. Or another way is to use the intermediate shaft. So when there is a larger distance between the driver and the follower gear, we can make use of the large size gears, but it is uneconomical. So the another way is to use the intermediate gears in between the driver and the follower gear. It is economical. Okay. Here, look at the diagram. So here, driver gear 1 drives the intermediate gear 2. Again, the driver intermediate gear 2 drives the follower gear 3. Here, look at the diagram at C. The drive in between the driver gear and the follower gears 1 and 4, there are two intermediate gears. Here, for the speed ratio, again the same formula applies. For the diagram B, again the speed ratio is N1 by N2 equal to T2 by T1. Again, that is we can compare the pair 1 and 2 and again 2 and 3. So for comparing gear 1 and 2, we can have the ratio, and comparing 2 and 3, we have the ratio N2 by N3 equal to 2, 3 by T2. So comparing all the ratios, we can get N1 by N3 equal to T3 by T1. That is, the speed ratio is similar to the simple gear train. Speed of the driver divided by speed of the driven equal to number of teeth on driven divided by number of teeth on driver. It is similar to the simple gear train ratio. Here, what we infer from this ratio is the intermediate gear has no effect on the speed ratio. Just to have the direction to the desired direction, to have the rotation of the follower in the desired direction. Next, compound gear train. Here, consider 4 shafts A, B, C, and D. Consider 4 shafts A, B, C, D. Here, let us assume the shaft B and C carries 2 wheels on the same shaft. That assume the shaft B and C carries 2 wheels on each. That is, the shaft B carries 2 and 3 gear wheels, and shaft C carries gear wheels 4 and 5. Here, what is the definition of the compound gear train? When series of gears are connected in such a way that there are 2 or more gears rotate about an axis with the same angular velocity. For example, if the shaft rotates at a particular angular velocity, the 2 and 3 are mounted on the same shaft. So the 2 and 3 gears are rotating in the same angular velocity. It is also similar to the 4 and 5. So as the shaft C rotates at a particular speed, so the speed of the gear 4 and 5 are same. So this is this combination of gear train is called a compound gear train. So when a series of gears are connected in such a way that there are 2 or more gears rotated about an axis with the same angular velocity. Here, as usual, the speed ratio is speed of the first driver divided by speed of the last follower gear. Here, in terms of number of teeth, the product of number of teeth on driven gears and to the race divided by product of number of teeth on driven drivers. So here, the first driver is N1 and the last follower gear is N6. So there is a ratio of the driver and the last follower N1 by 6 equal to product of number of teeth on driven gear divided by product of number of teeth on driver gear. Here. So here, the advantages of using compound gear train is we can get the much reduction in velocity. That is, we can get the better velocity ratio with the small size gears. So if you want to obtain the same velocity ratio or speed reduction, we have to use the bigger gears. We use the simple gear train. So the space is economically used. That's a wonderful advantage of the compound train. And third one is the riveted gear train. Just to look at the diagram, there is a 2 shafts A and B. The shaft A carries wheels gear 1 and 4, and gear 1 messes with the gear 2. So gear 1 drives gear 2. Again, the gear 2 and 3 are connected in a same shaft here. So the 3 also rotate at the same speed to the gear 2. Again, the gear 3 drives the gear 4, which is mounted on the first shaft. Here, the gear 1 is considered as a driving gear. That is a driver. Let us assume. Here, the gear 1 and 4 are mounted on the 2 different shafts, but they are coaxial. And the 2 and 3 mounted on the same shaft. So here is also 2 and 3 also called compound gear. Here, the gear 1 is called the driving gear. That is the first driver. So the gear 1 drives the gear 2. Again, gear 3 drives the gear 4. That is the gear 4 considered as a last follower. Gear, just notice the gear 1, that is the first driver, and the last follower gear 4 are the 2 mounted on the 2 different shafts, but the 2 shafts are coaxial. So such a type of gear train is called a riveted gear train. So the definition is when the axis of first gear and the last gear, that is the first driver and the last driven gear, are coaxial, then gear train is known as riveted gear train. Here, the speed ratio is the ratio of the productive number of teeth on driven gears to the productive number of teeth on driver gears. So here by the geometry, we can rewrite the R1 plus R2 equal to R3 plus R4. So if let us assume all the gears are of same model, we can, and the diameter or the ratio radius is proportional to the number of teeth. So we can rewrite the radius equations in terms of number of teeth. So T1 plus T2 equal to T3 plus T4. Again, the speed ratio is N1 by N4. That is a speed of the first driver and speed of the last follower equal to product of number of teeth and driven. That is T2 by into T4, and product of number of teeth and drivers T1 into T3. Then the application of gate trains. So automatic transmission, clocks, and back air used in the lathe. These are some applications we can make use of the reverted gear train. And fourth one is the epicyclic gear train. Here, consider a gear A and gear B and arm C. Consider the three elements: gear A, gear B, and arm C. Gear A has the rotation, center of rotation at O1, and gear B has the center of rotation at O2, and similarly arm C has the rotation of center of rotation at O1. Here, in definition is the axis of the shafts over which the gears are mounted may move related to a fixed axis. Here we have covered the three types of gear train. So the last three cases, the shafts don't move related to each other, but in epicyclic gear train, the axis of the shafts over which the gears are mounted may move related to a fixed axis. So this type of gear train is called the epicyclic gear train. Now, if the arm is fixed, let us assume that gear A is driven. Here the A drives the gear B, or the gear B may drive the gear A. So it is called a simple gear train. But if the for our consideration, if the gear A is fixed and the arm is made to rotate about the center of rotation O1, here when its power is given, gear B is forced to rotate around and upon gear A. So the gear B is forced to rotate upon and around gear A. So such a type of motion is called the epicyclic. As the gear B moves outside the gear A, it's a epicyclic motion. So such type of gear trains are called epicyclic gear train. So it's also useful for transmitting the high velocity ratio, but we can make use of the very smaller size gears, and also there is a limited space. We can make use of the simple and the epicyclic gear train. So the applications is back gears of fleet, as you know very well known example, differential gears of automobiles, hoist, wristwatches, etc. These are some applications where the epicyclic gear train is used. Okay, thank you.